All right, welcome to Taco and Tech. I am your host, Jeff Brunson. What are we going to talk about today? We are tacoing our tasty picks for week 4 of the college football season, mostly Big 12, and then a few other notable games here. And so I've got a guest, Steven here, and I'll let him introduce himself and tell him where you can get a hold of him. Let's go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Steven Rodriguez from the Talking Tech podcast here. If you follow Tech Twitter, you probably know who we are at Talking Tech Pod. Me and my co-host Tristan. You can find the podcast obviously everywhere you find podcasts, and yeah, man, happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate you. We're our names are very similar, at least the same kind
Yeah,
of concept. Talking Tech, and then of course I use the tortilla version, Taco and Tech, just
there you go.
uh, West Texas flair, I guess, or whatever what. It's not original. Other people have used it well, so it's not like I've
Oh,
created.
believe me, man, we have the furthest thing from an original name. Talking Texas Tech, talking Tech, but it's nice because both the names, the people recognize them. They're easy, it's not too complicated. So I think simple is better when it comes to just naming your platform.
There you go. And I love alliteration, so we got
Absolutely.
the TNT and the double T, I guess, for
Gotta love it.
both cases. So we'll get right into it. As we're recording this tonight, West Virginia and Virginia Tech are actually playing. We're not going to pick that game since it's at halftime right now, but we can just talk about, I guess, just talk about West Virginia or whatever your thoughts. If you followed me at all, you know that I actually picked West Virginia to finish last, and so far I'm looking pretty good. Uh, I, this year it felt like the conversation that who was going to finish last was actually more compelling than who was going to finish first, just because I felt that it wasn't going to be Kansas this year. But anyway, if you have thoughts on West Virginia and their season so far, or Neil Brown, or whatever you think, I believe. Well, if you have the score, I'll let you give that. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think right now it's 13-7 at halftime. I mean, obviously a bad start to the year for Neil Brown in West Virginia. Me and Tristan both thought this is kind of Neil Brown's just waiting to get fired, honestly. He's had a disappointing tenure at West Virginia so far, and they gave him the extension, and his buyout's crazy, and it just hasn't been working out for him. I don't know why in the world they gave him that extension. They were 11-11 at the time that they gave him that, and they really seemed to shot themselves in the foot. You look at the first game of the year; they played a rival that they haven't played in a long time, Pitt. Those kind of games, it's hard to pick those and determine, who's the better team there because it's a rivalry game and it's first game of the year and all that. But the Kansas game, that was just, I did not expect that at all, and I was not a believer like you in the Jayhawks. I thought Kansas, they had to prove it, and so far they've been proving it. But yeah, West Virginia has been a very big disappointment so far.
That they absolutely have. Yeah, I just you could kind of see the writing on the wall with they haven't recruited very well under Neil Brown, and I, from my point of view, I like Lance Leopold. I
Mhm.
like Kansas coach. We'll see how long he's going to be there. If he's going to plant roots, or if somebody bit bigger is going to come calling. What's
Sure.
going to happen. But we'll talk about Kansas later. But just a reference as to why I did not have Kansas last this year. So yeah, so we'll see. Maybe West Virginia gets there. Well, I guess it'd be their second win. They did
Yeah.
beat. Was it Towson? The Towson.
Towson. Yeah. Towson.
I think I called them Tosin in the. in,
Well, yeah, nobody knew. I don't even know where Towson is. So.
I'm pretty sure it's Towson. So let me make that correction if for anybody that
For the record.
yeah, for the record, I have been made aware of my mistake. Okay, next game we'll go outside of the conference real quick and touch on some big games. We got I guess first up, so we got Clemson at Wake Forest, with Clemson is actually a 7-point favorite as the road team. What you got?
You know, Wake has been Wake's been a good program the last few years, and I know the ACC isn't anything to write home about. Um, Clemson obviously losing Venables, and they're still starting DJ at quarterback, and it's give me Clemson in this one. I just think they still won 10 games last year. Like they were still a pretty damn good team, and that's part of that's the ACC not being so good, but no, give me Clemson on the road. Wake Forest, they don't have that atmosphere. Credit to them for being a pretty good team the last couple of years, but I think Clemson's going to go in and take care of business.
Yeah, I agree, and it does seem weird, how they did win 10 games. Everybody was kind of like the sky's falling.
Yeah.
They're not as good this year, and yet they still win double digits. And here Tech is, we're happy to go 6-6
Yeah, really.
here. So it is kind of a different attitude. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think. Do we know is where game day? I haven't. I forgot to look.
Game day is going to be in Tennessee in Knoxville.
Okay,
Who are they playing? I forgot who they were playing, but
I've got
it's
it.
it's your normal SEC
Yeah,
game day spot that they choose to go to.
I was hoping they would go to this game actually,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of keep things, kind of new places.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was surprised they went to App State. I was happy they went to App State last week, but
Yeah,
yeah, you're not going to see game day go do. Some people wanted them to go to Kansas Duke this year or this week, and that would have been cool. But
yeah, that's
no, they gotta go to their normal SEC towns.
yeah. Okay, so we both got Clemson. We'll see if the Demon Deacons can make a game of it.
Wake
They're
is great.
7 point, it's only a 7 point favorite, so not. And I guess on the road that's bigger than normal, but college usually that's where you usually see those big spreads. So
Mm-hmm.
somewhat surprised at that, uh, but anyway. Okay, well, you reference this game next, Florida at Tennessee, so that is on our list. Game day will be there, at least according to Steven. I'm going to trust him. I should have. That was my bad. Uh, okay, but Tennessee, 10.5 point favorite. Uh, Maybe Tennessee's a little surprising this year, but what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think Heupel's doing good stuff over there at Tennessee, kind of turning that program around from the gutter that they were in the last couple of years. They beat Pitt in an overtime game. It's really hard to tell how good Pitt is. I mean, they beat West Virginia, but like we mentioned earlier, West Virginia may not be that good. And Florida, I mean, they had the impressive opening win against Utah, but then losing to Kentucky. They played a tight one to South Florida. So, in Knoxville, I think you got to give the edge here to Tennessee. I'm not really a firm believer in I believe it's Anthony Richardson, the quarterback over there at Florida. Not, not on the train yet. So give me Tennessee.
Yeah, I'd hate to agree with you again, but it's not very compelling. But Florida does seem I don't know if schizophrenic is the word, but just inconsistent or just not
Mm-hmm.
quite, the Florida of old. I don't think they're ready yet. Josh Heupel is definitely, kind of. I think he just got an extension, so they here we're talking about early extension for Neil Brown, and then Josh Heupel gets one as well. So we'll see how that turns out. I don't know that anybody was coming calling. Maybe somebody we didn't know about, or they just wanted to lock him up. I don't know, but um, I definitely, in the past, Tennessee has kind of been maybe I don't know if a laughing stock is the right word, but I'm sure to SEC fans maybe they were because they were always
Yeah.
had these high expectations and they never, they were the
No.
Texas of Tennessee, right? So
Yeah. I mean,
never,
UT of the
no,
SEC, and
it's the
now
same.
the SEC is getting both disappointing UTs. Congrats.
Now they're getting the second one. So, yeah, I'll definitely agree on Tennessee as well at home. Um, and I'll even take the 10.5. So I'll even just kind of double down and say they will actually cover. So it will be a 12, 14, 2 score or two touchdown game more or less here. All right, another SEC game. Come up, we got Arkansas at Texas A&M going to College Station.
Mm.
What you got?
Oh man, this is two teams I despise. Arkansas is more hateable in basketball than they are football. I will say that. A&M's hateable in everything. But A&M brought in what new quarterback last week, Max Johnson. They beat Miami. It was a low scoring game. That defense is killer, but the offense has been super stagnant at times. Not scoring a lot. I mean, they obviously the loss to App State and all that, but in College Station, that App State wouldn't beat them. So, why can't Arkansas go in to College Station and go beat them? I think this will be a competitive game. I don't know the line. I think mine says Aggies by 2. I'm gonna take Arkansas just straight up. I think they get the win in College Station, and that's not just because I'm a hater of the Aggies. It's just because I've watched the majority of them play this season, and it doesn't look great. The defense is solid. Offense, it takes them a while, and I think Arkansas's got a pretty killer offense.
Yeah, this one's tough, which is probably why it's only 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
And the Aggies are probably getting a bump being at home, and so you would think probably on neutral site Arkansas is favored by maybe Arkansas favored by 1 or 2, 1.5 possibly. So this one's definitely I okay, just so we can have a difference. Don't
I
don't
won't. I won't tell anybody that you're picking A&M. I won't do
don't
it.
discredit my Red Raider fandom. Uh, beating the Aggies, especially under Mike Leach when it was like 6, 7 times in a row, was one of the greatest things.
Oh yeah.
I remember I was waiting tables in East Texas actually, and this is a true story. And there was an Aggie. We had the game on, and an Aggie, was sitting there, and I walked by him, and Tech had just won. I forgot which game it was, and he was just like, "Man, they just love beating us." So I had like the biggest smile on my face, like rest of the night, just thinking that one. He didn't know I was a Red Raider, and he's like, "Man, they just enjoy beating us," and I'm like, "Yes, we do."
Yeah.
We do. But you know what? I'll pick A&M. I feel like they had their come to Jesus meeting after losing to App State, and they'll keep the train rolling. Jimbo has gotten their attention, so to speak, or I guess App State got their attention really. And
Yeah.
I think they'll be focused. And Arkansas, is a former rival way back in the Southwest Conference days, so I think they'll be hyped and ready. The 12th man, the crowd's going to be there, so we'll be different there, and I'll suck it up and take. I won't root for the Aggies, but I'll take.
Oh yeah. You never. Yeah, you never root for the Aggies, even if it's Arkansas. You don't root for A&M.
That is true. Okay, let's hit up let's hit up the new Big 12 first, and then
There
we'll
you go.
actual Big 12 at least for this year. So we got Wyoming at BYU. BYU is favored by 21.5.
Ugh.
You got
You know, Wyoming beat Air Force last week, and Air Force was supposed to be pretty good. I haven't watched a lot of Wyoming. I'm gonna be honest with you. I did catch the first half of that Baylor BYU game. You come out of that game and you're just not thrilled with either team, to be quite honest with you. I thought it was pretty sloppy from both ends, and then BYU obviously just got creamed by Oregon. Um, I give me Wyoming to cover. BYU, I think, is going to pretty easily win this game, but give me, uh, give me Wyoming to cover the 21.5.
All right. I'm actually, that's what I had actually.
Did you really?
I had BYU to win, but Wyoming to cover, not get
Mhm.
beat by at least more than three. If it is three touchdowns, I guess it will be more. Of course, watch it be 24. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
So,
Get that extra field goal there at the
but,
end of the game.
but yeah, like neither team, like you thought, okay, well, you know what, this BYU team might be pretty good. They beat Baylor, but you know what, BYU was without two of their best wide
Yeah.
receivers, and honestly, the only time that Baylor's looked good is when they basically just played a patsy. So they what Texas State last week, I believe,
Hmm.
the Bobcats, and pretty much rolled them just like you would expect, like almost like we did to Murray State. Um, but Baylor is definitely confusing.
Hmm.
Almost everybody, at least had them going to the championship game, if not winning the Big 12 outright. But they haven't looked like a Big 12 championship team yet.
No. Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, they were having to replace a lot. I mean, people just kind of gave him the bump because, Dave Aranda showed last year that he can turn around that program pretty quickly and put up, a bunch of good talent. But, you lose, you switch quarterbacks, you go to Shapen. You lose a guy like Jalen Petrie, who was the backbone of that Baylor program on that defense. But it's Baylor. I don't think anybody should have expected them to start good. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be this bad all year, but they're definitely looking middle ground Big 12 right now.
you would have to, as of right now, I think you can, and maybe we'll discuss this later, but we'll see how much time we have. But I feel like as of right now, Baylor is a winnable game for.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so I definitely agree. BYU may not be maybe as good as they were last year or just in years past, but they should take care of Wyoming, but may not cover the 21 and a half points. All
Mm-hmm.
right, Indiana at Cincinnati. Cincinnati favored by 16 and a half. So pretty good spread. What you
Yeah.
got?
Yeah, this one was hard because Indiana's 3-0, but all three games were tight and they were against bad teams and they were at home. So it's hard to, look at them and be like, oh, that's a good team, even though they're 3-0. But and then Cincy played Arkansas tight, and then they've been Cincinnati. That's a damn good team. And you understand why they're favored by 16 and a half, even against a 3-0 Big Ten team. Um, I'm not a believer in Indiana. I'm not a believer in a lot of Big Ten teams, that are that kind of tier. So, yeah, give me Cincy just taking over at home, just giving them a good old beating.
All right, yeah, same here. I don't see. Um, yeah, it's just weird that the Big Ten has as much hype as it does. There's really it's Ohio. It's really Ohio State and everybody else.
Yeah, and that's normally what I mean. It's top heavy every year. Michigan showed up last year, and sometimes you'll get a really good Michigan State team here or there. Wisconsin lost to what was it, Washington State already. So yeah, it's top heavy, but the ones at the top are really good. You get your Ohio States and your Michigan. So you're always going to look at better when you have a playoff contender every year. So just as a conference. So but yeah, I think the Big Ten, the middle teams, the bottom tier teams are not great.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, and then of course, it's not really about the product on the field; it's about eyeballs, and they have
Mhm.
huge
Oh yeah,
and fan bases. So I understand that. I'm not uh, ignorant to that fact as to why they got so much money, but
sure.
it's just funny to poke fun of when you see these scores, especially like Iowa State was it 10-7 or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and you're just like, this is what this is worth $100 million.
Watching Iowa beat South Dakota State 7-3.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Cincy, I feel like we'll take care of business. Um, but I'm going to go the other way. I am going to say I'll say that Indiana mucks it up enough to where Indiana covers.
Okay.
So since he wins, but just to be maybe to be contrarian a little bit, but
Sure. Yeah, no, I'll say since he covers the spread, beats him down pretty good.
yeah, I got you. All right, we got another barn burner here. We got Rice at
Rice.
old Southwest Conference mates rivalries. The fellow, what am I saying, Houstonites or whatever.
Yeah, Houstonians.
Anyway, Houston I'm sure, has been a disappointment to their fans so far. Losing to back-to-back Big 12 teams. Welcome to the Big 12, Houston's.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've told people, I'm like Houston, UCF. There's going to be a Big 12 learning curve. There's going to be some adjustment where BYU and Cincinnati can probably compete fairly well immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Houston and UCF it's going to take them some time. But anyway, Houston's favored by 17.5. What do you got?
Yeah, the spread should be higher, but they lost to Kansas and at their place too. I mean, Houston has had a really disappointing beginning to the season, and you look at the rest of their schedule, nobody is ranked. SMU maybe their best team that they have left after this. And so the schedule is obviously awful, and they had a great record last year, but every good team they played, they lost to, except in the bowl game. So, um, you know, uh, and you see what happened on the sideline in the Kansas game where their own players are pushing each other. So Houston is down pretty bad to start the year. They should cover this. Um, and Rice is Rice. What can I say about Rice? I guess they beat the Raging Cajuns last week. They got creamed by USC and beat McNeese State. So, uh, you know, give me the Owls. Give me not to win, but give me the Owls to cover. I'm gonna say Houston wins, but Rice gives them kind of a run for their money here, and Houston just continues their their disappointing year.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because they were hyped up. They were ready, but they have had so many penalties.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how many penalties they had against Tex. It was, um, I know the first drive of Tech ended up in a field goal, but there were 30 yards in
Oh yeah.
just a personal foul.
Yeah, I mean the definition of Houston this year is undisciplined. Just constant penalties, guys talking a lot and getting after every play you see Houston Cougar talking to the other team. If they make a good play, whatever, everybody's always chirping, and I don't know if Dana's got a good grasp on that team right now. So yeah, Houston Houston's not in a good spot right now.
Well, and no, and of course the old adage goes, if you're not coaching it, you're allowing it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of Dana's MO. I think he likes that chip because when he was at West Virginia, they're bringing sledgehammers,
Mm-hmm.
to the Jones and trying to intimidate. I think that's just kind of his. I guess he's okay with it. He's probably not okay with the penalty yardage, obviously, but I think he's okay with the attitude. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that attitude is not manifesting itself properly. They're not channeling it correctly. I guess the way that where West Virginia, maybe they did handle it
Mm-hmm.
properly. I don't feel like they had as many penalties in their games as Houston has had this year. So LOL, all you Tech fans that wanted Dana as your coach. There you go.
Yeah, dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah, but I'll go. I will also say that Houston wins, but I'll say they also cover. I say not that they get right, but I think Rice is just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll find out for sure. This week if Rice can put up a fight, but I don't trust Rice, and haven't for years.
Yeah, Houston. I mean, Houston has the talent that they should crush Rice. I mean, having a Tank Dell, having Tune is a good quarterback, and they got a couple decent running backs there. But yeah, they should cream them. I just don't think Houston's in a good spot mentally right now, and could see Rice sneak up on them.
Uh, I don't disagree. And Houston has a fantastic D line.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's another side. But luckily we we converted that 4th and 20, and then
Yeah.
the rest is history. That was crazy. Okay, our final new incomer, we got Georgia Tech going at UCF. UCF is 20.5 favorite, point
Wow.
favorite. What you,
That man, I didn't realize they would be favored that high. I mean, UCF lost to Louisville. Georgia Tech's no good. I mean, I'm not trying to. They didn't score against Ole Miss last week, and then they lost 31 to Clemson. Um, at UCF, that's the thing. The last couple of years, those Knights fans are showing out. I mean, they have a nice environment over there, and they were one of the teams that I was happy was coming into the Big 12 just for their fan base alone.
yeah.
Um, give me the Knights. Give me the Knights to cover. Georgia Tech is just no good.
Yeah, same. I think Georgia Tech is battling Colorado for the worst team in the Power Five
Yeah.
um, right now. So I definitely agree. Yeah, and of course I visited UCF this summer, and I guns up in front of the bounce house. So I'll have to go back for a game. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to go see a game there. It's high up on the newcomers. I've been to Houston a million times.
So,
Cincinnati doesn't excite me all that much. Provo's number one though. We got to get to Provo for BYU, but then probably make it out there to UCF. That's probably the number two choice.
I agree. All right, so here we go. Been a fun little Twitter battle this past few days. We got Baylor at Iowa State. It's been fun, with which may be a little surprising, but Iowa State is actually favored by 2.5.
Mm.
What you got?
Is this one in Ames?
It is.
Okay, that makes more sense then. Um, Iowa State, I know they're 3-0. I haven't been impressed with them so far. Um, Iowa, that's always a tough game for them in general. No matter how bad Iowa's offense is, they still only won 10-7. At Ohio, they played them, beat them down pretty good. Ohio's no good. Southeast Missouri State. So it's tough to judge what Iowa State is. They lost so much from last year's team. The only real guy that they returned on the offense there is Hutchinson, and they have a new quarterback. Brees Hall's no longer there. Kolar no longer there. So it's I think Iowa State's going to kind of get a reality shock this weekend. After starting 3-0, congrats. That's awesome. Especially with all that they lost. But I think Baylor takes care of business here. I think they're going to go beat the Clones.
All right. Well, I am joining in on the Baylor hate week. The Cyclones they'll find a way. They just will. They'll find a way to get it done. Uh,
Yeah.
they I don't know. I'm hoping that maybe there's legit chink in the Baylor armor. We'll see. Maybe there it gets exposed. We'll see. But see, I'm also, this is probably contradictory because I'm also not that high on Matt Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't convinced me yet personally. I know he's gotten a lot of pub, and then his name is floating around, but I haven't seen it. Like I feel like he had kind of the same team and that progressed and did the same, and they were the same players coming back, and then he never met expectations. He couldn't do it,
Yeah.
or his team didn't, or however you want to look at that. But so I need to see Matt Campbell do it with a new crop of players before I'm convinced that okay, yeah, he's a good coach, or well, he's obviously a good coach. Let me
Mm-hmm.
rephrase that, a great coach or elite coach. how it is that you want to phrase that. So I will counter your Baylor with a Cyclone win, and maybe it is by a field goal. So Iowa State will cover
There you go.
the 2.5, and they'll be celebrating their own victory and having their Twitter party for their Baylor hate week.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. I love it with those two fan bases. They're fun to interact with on Twitter. We know some Baylor fans, some Iowa State fans really well. So um, you know, I like I do like both of these fan bases. I know Baylor's Baylor, but they're fun people to interact with.
Yeah, the Baylor fans are fine. My issue with Baylor is really just the fact that karma doesn't exist for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my frustration really. I, I
Yeah,
I know a lot of Baylor fans. Being Baptist myself, there are a lot of people at my church here in Lubbock graduated from Baylor. It is, it is,
sure.
it is. We have fun, but um, I'm just gonna. I feel like I've had maybe more fun, especially this off season with the Iowa State fans. Shout out Cyclone Larry 6'9".
Always shout out Cyclone Larry. What a guy.
And so I will be rooting for the Cyclone Nation.
There you go.
All right, we got the Battle of the Metroplex, or I don't even know if it has a name. I'm sure it does, but TCU at SMU, and TCU is really only a 2-point favorite. You think, but I guess the games have been kind of back and forth recently, but
Mm-hmm.
with SMU winning, but TCU took SMU's coach.
Yeah.
What you got?
Um, this TCU is another one of those teams where I thought they could potentially finish last in the Big 12 this year. Um, just based off, I'm not, I love the Dykes family, obviously, the Wreckham legacy and all that kind of stuff. But, I just don't really believe in Sonny Dykes is going to be the guy to continue what Gary Patterson was doing over there at TCU. I think it was a pretty monumental mistake for TCU to move on from Gary. I know there was some minor distress going on in the program, and some players weren't agreeing with his coaching. He's an old school guy. He's Gary Patterson, but that man made TCU, and for them to just move on like what they did, I think they're going to see a few down years here. Now, I'm not saying Sonny's going to be forever bad over there. I just think it might take him a couple of years. Give me SMU here. Give me Mustangs. And give me with the slight upset. This game's always tight, no matter what. This is one of those rivalry games where it's always, no matter how good one team is over the other, it's always a pretty good game. So, give me SMU to take down TCU here.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement. I had TCU probably eighth. Um, basically probably TCU and then Kansas and then West Virginia as far as the bottom three um, teams of the Big 12. Um, you know, anytime you have a first year head coach, Texas Tech, obviously we have ours with Joe McGuire. Steve Sarkisian last year went 5-7. With all the resources that Texas has, so it's Nick Saban. I think he was 7-6 his first year at Alabama. It just takes time for a new coach, so it's definitely not a shot at Sonny Dykes to expect TCU to fall back. If it shouldn't surprise Tech fans if we don't go to a bowl game in Joe McGuire's first year. At least I don't think it should.
Well,
Probably
Texas Tech fans are very mentally stable and understand.
completely logical and reasonable. Tech fans. That's synonymous.
Yeah, but that's what makes us so great, man. Love the passion.
Absolutely. I will. But see, SMU has a first year head coach as well. Because they
Mm-hmm.
lost theirs to TCU, so that doesn't after in this game. I don't think I'm going to take TCU to go ahead and win. Um, Kind of exercise. I think SMU won the past at least two meetings in a row, if I remember correctly. Um, I know they won last year, and they were like, oh, "Well, if we can't beat Sunny Docs, let's go get Sunny Docs."
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another reason, SMU's got their chip on their shoulder. Yeah, your coach left for a rival. Now, it's not the same situation as a Chris Beard, but it's a rivalry, and you had coach leave one for the other. Now it is taking that extra step from Group of Five to Power Five, so there's the difference. But I think SMU will have a chip on their shoulder and they'll play a little harder.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there's some jealousy as well from their side that TCU got an invite to the Big 12 and they haven't. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Not yet. I would be surprised if they ever do, but I was surprised we brought in TCU and we brought in Houston. So, what what do I know? Because your team brings in the market that they're in. So it necessarily makes sense. But um, anyway, who knows? Okay. So you got SMU, I got TCU. We'll see what happens there. Okay, maybe the fun game of
Yeah.
of the city. We got Duke at Kansas. The undefeated 3-0 Kansas Jayhawks are 9-point favorites at home. What you got?
Unbelievable. I Kansas. I'm not gonna say I was wrong, but I am gonna say that I was a little off base. I mean, I thought Kansas was gonna continue what they've been doing, and I do like Leipold. I think he's a great head coach. I think he's doing wonders for that program even so far. I don't think many of them expected to have 3 wins, let alone be 3-0. Kansas, their offense is something. Their offensive line's real good. It's nothing to mess with. Jalen Daniels is a baller. The defense stinks. The defense is not good with Kansas, and Duke, on the other hand, hasn't really played anybody. I mean, Kansas has beat West Virginia, and they beat Houston. So that's two pretty decent teams, at least decent. You know, um, I'm gonna it's sellout Kansas. The fans are showing out. They're kind of buying in a little bit, and I'm gonna keep the train rolling. Give me a 4-0 Kansas Jayhawk and covering.
Rock Chalk Jayhawks. I have to pick Kansas. I have them at least flirting with the bowl game, and so
Yep.
they had to start for me to be right. They had to start 4-0, and that West Virginia game and then winning in overtime was huge, at least as far as my prediction, because West Virginia, Kansas, right? So whoever's going to win, the other one is
Sure.
place, and so far that's working in my favor. So absolutely, Kansas, give me Kansas, and they're averaging over 50 points a game. They score 56 and then 55 and then 48, but they've kind of played progressively better defenses as they go along. So I would expect another possibly 45, 50. I'm not sure of Duke's defensive prowess. I don't think it's
Yeah.
I'm not expecting Coach K to be coaching defense for the football team, and so I don't expect the offensive train to stop rolling. So yeah, give me Kansas. This is the game I will try to watch. I'm not sure what time it is. If it's it
11 a.m.
interferes with, huh?
11 a.m.
Okay, it is 11. Okay,
Yeah.
then I could probably see the start of it. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna head out to campus pretty early, so maybe I won't see any of it
I
actually.
was about to say you got to be out there early for UT, man.
Yeah, maybe I'll see the kickoff. We'll see what time I leave the house, but I'm not gonna. Maybe I'll watch some highlights. I'm not gonna find the game and rewatch it, but
Sure. I don't blame you.
maybe I'll watch some highlights. All right, all right. Now we got Kansas State going to Norman. OU is 13-point favorite. What you got?
This was a tough one. This was a really tough one to judge. Oklahoma hasn't played anybody. They haven't played anybody. They play UTEP. They played, I think, another FCS team, and then, or who was it? Oh, Kent State, UTEP, Kent State, and then Nebraska. So yeah, they played basically the same tier of teams. Um, uh, Kansas State. That game last week was the most surprising game I've seen in a while. I can't believe. And now I've never been a huge Adrian Martinez fan, but he just straight up didn't look like he deserved to be on the football field. And that offense was just not flowing against Tulane. And you know, Tulane's not a fantastic team. So this was hard. The game, I believe, is in Norman. So you know, give me Oklahoma. Give me Oklahoma, but not covering. Give me Kansas. It'll be a close game, but give me the Sooners.
Yeah, of the Big 12 teams, Kansas State has had the most success in Norman that I think of anybody.
Yeah.
They've seemed to always uh, give them a game, and then I think they even actually have a winning record. Um, and I want to say, I think I heard the stat maybe 5-3
Mm.
over the past 8 years, and nobody else is even close to that.
Yeah.
So I believe that I should probably look that up. So don't take that for gospel. But we definitely know Kansas State has had success in Norman or just against OU, and maybe it wasn't in Norman. Maybe it's just OU overall.
Just against them. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Kansas State is I don't I had Kansas State uh, possibly winning the Big 12, maybe going to the championship game. I have since changed my. I'm allowed to do that after I see. I was kind of believing the hype a little bit. They have not impressed on offense. Martinez has not impressed at all, really.
Mm-mm. No, and the defense is something to talk about. I mean, they have a killer defensive line. They have a great secondary back there. Deuce Vaughn, obviously very electric, but that's about all they got on offense because Martinez has just been exactly who he was at Nebraska, and that's not good. That's not what you want to see from a fifth-year player. And so, yeah, I think he's going to kind of be the anchor of Kansas State all year and just kind of keep dragging them down to what they could be. But you know,
Yeah, it definitely looks that way. And they have a lot of talent on the team. There's several, and I forget how many, but several NFL prospects. So that's where kind of my preseason judgment was coming from was the amount of talent that they had, and just thinking that okay, maybe this guy will come in and be serviceable, but he hadn't even been serviceable. They won kind of in spite of him instead of because of him.
yeah.
So I will take I'll take OU to dominate. They've looked good. The competition hasn't been well, so you don't know. I mean, if Tech played Murray State every week, then Tech would be looking pretty good. So we'll see, but I'll go ahead and take OU to win and to win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
We'll watch that one and see what happens. So okay, well here we are.
Here we are.
Hometown team. So we'll switch it up just a little bit. So before we make our pick, let's just give kind of one reason or one cause. If Tech wins, this happened. If Tech loses, this happened. What you got?
If Tech wins, you've taken care of the ball. You haven't had those mistakes that we've seen from Donovan to start the year. We don't have Miles Price not running through his routes, and we just handle those mistakes. limit them at all costs. I don't think you turn the ball over more than maybe once um, to win this game. I just I, listen. I'm a huge Donovan Smith believer. I have been all year. I wanted him to start initially over Shuck, and I just really think that guy has so much talent and so much uh, unused talent, like stuff that we haven't seen yet. He's got that next step. He just hasn't taken it. And I think if he takes care of the ball, we've seen him when he plays great. We saw Mississippi State last year. We saw him in the Baylor game. So you're going to limit turnovers if you're going to beat Texas. On the other hand, Texas wins if they get Bijan going. That's the easiest answer. If they get the run game going and it's constantly beating you like they did last year, it's not going to be a fun time for Texas Tech.
Yeah, totally agree. I'll go a little bit different. I'll be a little bit more specific here. I'm going to say if Tech wins, then Tech utilize their tight ends, especially Mason Tharp, more so than they have this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of hoping that maybe they were saving it for this game. I think he could potentially be a matchup nightmare for pretty much anybody. On that defense. Not that Texas isn't talented, but I mean the dude is what 6'9".
Yeah.
Throw the ball up, let him go get it, and let's see. So if Tech wins, then obviously they've had time, but I'm going to say they utilize their tight ends maybe more so than what we've seen in the first three games. If Tech loses, then it's because essentially Texas hired Gary Patterson, and the defense just wouldn't let us do anything. That's where I'll go with that. That they just destroyed our offensive line, and I don't expect Tech to have much of a running game anyway. So if Texas wins, they've pretty much neutralized us to where we're all passing, and they can just up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely two good points. The Patterson hire pisses me off on a lot of different levels. Um, just because of TC, the way TCU handled it, and Texas just scooping him up as an analyst or whatever his specialist, whatever his title actually is over there. But yeah, you can definitely see that Patterson DNA so far, especially in the Bama game, and how they basically shut UTSA down from the second quarter on. So that's definitely scary. But this game's in Lubbock. You're going to get a sold out crowd. You're going to get a lot of people rooting for you. It's going to be loud, and I'm excited. I don't have much of a scope on this game, and I usually do when it comes to Texas and Texas Tech. But we went over it on our podcast. We had Kyle Umling on, and everybody knows him, the arch nemesis of Texas Tech Twitter. But we're very similar teams. We have really good defensive lines. We're playing our backup quarterback. We have good running backs that sometimes aren't utilized very well because of the offensive line. And so I just hope to God that Tech makes this a game. And I just want to see us go out the last game against UT in Lubbock, probably most likely to be a good one for Tech.
What's your official pick?
My official pick, and I gave this score prediction on our podcast. I think Tech's going to win this one 21-20. It's going to be a defensive battle, and we're going to see mistakes from both quarterbacks, and we're just not going to get the offense doing. Either team is not going to get the offense doing what they want to do because of each other's defenses. So, give me a low scoring game. I'm definitely taking the under here, but give me Texas Tech winning by a point.
Nice. I will take it. Because what's the was like 55?
I see 61. It's been all over the place. It was 58 for a while. On CBS, it shows 61. But it's all in that general area. I think it's going to be way below whatever it is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Uh, I'm unabashedly a homer. I'm taking nobody is ever going to catch me picking Texas to win. I don't care. It's I pick with my heart, not my head. Sometimes, would I be surprised if Texas wins? No, of course not. Would I be
Mhm.
surprised if Texas Tech wins? No, I won't be surprised.
Mhm.
Alabama played terribly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were rattled. They weren't ready for that atmosphere. So shout out to Texas fans for creating the atmosphere. That's not something you see all the time,
Mhm.
or at least you haven't. Maybe there's a little more excitement. So maybe that is coming um, more regularly coming forward, at least in football. So we'll see. But maybe Alabama wasn't really. It should have been a 20-point favorite, but I don't think that we can just assume that Texas is going to roll. I, they're not going to score 70, right? This defense, I think this defense is ahead of schedule. We had a good defense last year. We really did.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, our game plan against Texas was the wrong one. And we didn't adjust. But
Yeah.
that coach is gone, and we have new ones in their place. So, no,
Yeah, I mean, I really like what DeRuyter's done so far. You're just seeing a different mentality and a different fight from him. You wouldn't have gotten the rabbit play last week against NC State, knocking that ball in the for a touchback. You wouldn't have got that on last year's defense. Yeah, this team plays with heart. This team plays with effort. And obviously you got Tyree Wilson. So Tyree Wilson is a whole man. So I am expecting the defense to show up for every game this year, not just the big ones, not just for the bad teams. I think they're going to show up every week.
yeah, so far they pretty much have the defense is a nobody really talks about it because of the 4th and 20, and then maybe some other plays against Houston, but defense absolutely
Oh yeah.
uh, at least kept that game within reach
Mm-hmm.
for sure. If not, potentially won the game because of their all the efforts all game. NC State, they were really fantastic. You could argue that Tech should have, because of that defense, Tech probably should have won that game. Um, just based on I mean, what Leary had 120 yards passing, and
Oh yeah, they were put in such bad positions with special teams blunders. I mean, you saw our guy Austin McNamara, who's normally the best punter in the country, in my opinion, had just a few bad kicks, put them in good field goal or field position, and but our defense held it down. They were put in a lot of really bad spots, and they managed it really well, I thought.
yeah, so I am absolutely impressed with the defense. Absolutely impressed with Tim DeRuyter. I think the future is definitely, regardless of how this game turns out, the future for Tech football is bright.
Mhm.
You can't help but if there was stock, I would be buying Tech stock like crazy,
Yep.
um, and selling Baylor stock. I think they may fall down a little bit coming up, but it doesn't matter. My point is that go Tech, guns up. I will always pick Tech to beat Texas, whether I believe it in my head or not. So we
Yeah.
are.
Because what do you get? What satisfaction do you get? Oh, I was right about Texas winning. Like, no, you're still sad either way. So you may as well just be double happy when Tech wins.
That's right. Or you know what? We'll be double sad if Tech
There you
loses.
go. Hey, we're sad anyway. Doesn't matter.
That's right. What's there between sad and double sad? I don't even know. It still ends in some alcohol being consumed. So either way.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, there we go. We will see. Let me write that down real quick. We will see how we did. Man, Steven, I appreciate you coming on and just sharing, I guess, I don't know, maybe an hour. I'm not sure how long we're going, but talking some picks and we'll see how we did. I was so last week I tied. So I'm going to say I'm unbeaten still because
There you
I
go.
didn't do it week one. I did it week two, and I won by one game. I was 12-5, and last
Nice.
we were both 10-4, and so we'll see. So this week was better because a lot of teams faced each other.
Hmm.
It wasn't just kind of Big 12 facing patsies where everybody kind of picked the same thing. So even though we agreed a lot, that's going to happen anyway. We do
Yeah.
have several differences. So that's going to be maybe a more proper judge on how we do with that. So uh, other than that, we'll get out of here. Do you have any parting shots? Anything else? One last
One last hurrah. Texas Tech is I said it. I've picked every game correctly so far. If you look back at our preseason picks, I said Tech was going to be 2-1. They were going to beat Houston and lose to NC State, and I did predict that we're going to beat Texas, and we're finally going to get over that hump that we've been desperately wanting to get over. And I think this is the right coach, the right staff. I think that listen, you'd love to have your starting quarterback, but I really believe in Donovan Smith to turn it around here, and I just think this is the best the best game to do it. So let's go wreck them always.
There we go. Yeah, I actually had the same, and I had us beating Texas.
There you
Uh,
go.
at the end of the day, I think if you can, uh, if you're 3-3 when you hit the bye week,
Yep.
I think you're right on schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and you could have a good, strong finish to the season. And then, you're looking at 6 or 7 wins and a bowl game. And I think Tech fans should be absolutely ecstatic if that happens. For a first, not only your first season of a coach, but a first year
Yeah.
college coach. So people sometimes overlook how
Yeah.
that can affect the team. There's just a lot of adjustments
Mm-hmm.
to go. Anyway, we'll stop with that, and I appreciate you. So thanks for tuning in, and guns up. We'll catch you next time.